Alrighty ho, so over the past couple of months I've got a couple of requests to make a bear guide. And here it is, the basic Guardian Druid guide for 5.4. And first of all, let's talk about the bear, the strengths and the weaknesses. Strengths: high armor, high dodge, so bosses with really hard hitting melee hits that hit often, yeah, you're gonna be a god amongst all the tanks. You're actually the best tank for melee heavy fights. You have a lot of things to do with them. The weakness is everything else. Okay, magic damage, bleeds, and basically everything that is not reduced by armor and cannot be dodged. That is your weakness, because you have no active mitigation to deal with it. And that's the first thing that contributes to this lack of popularity amongst, other tanks. The way Siege of Orgrimmar works is there is a shit ton of magic damage, there's a lot of dot damage, and you just can't deal with that very well. You're gonna take more damage than other tanks from that, because you have no active mitigation to counter it. Now, the second thing that contributes to this lack of popularity even more, in my opinion, is the way we take damage as bears. Because other tanks take damage differently than us. Okay, your goal as a tank is to tank the boss, obviously, but to take a steady amount of damage throughout the entire fight, so healers are ready for the damage you're gonna take and they can precast their heals. With the druid, not so much. Okay, you can't really do that because of how your active mitigation works. So basically you can dodge the first swing, you can even dodge the second swing, maybe even the third swing, but then you get hit by a truck. And bad healers panic. They either let you die, or they're gonna start binge healing you, wasting too much mana, and they're gonna go So that's the reason. The active mitigation, it works differently. Good healer is ready for this, and he keeps that instant cast that he would otherwise use on some random Yahoo that's standing in a fire. He keeps that for you. So as soon as you take that, oh shit, I just got hit by a truck hit, he pumps you up and takes you out of the shit. And that's not the fault of the druid. It's not your fault. It's the healer being panicky, playing in a panic fashion and not being ready and not knowing what can happen to you. So it's not your fault. It's actually, most of the time, it's the healer's fault. I know this sounds really weird coming from a tank. Wow, it's the healer's fault. But it is. Good healer is ready for that big truck that's gonna ram you in the face, and he keeps that big instant heal for you. Now let's look at the talents. So this is the default setup. Wild charge, awesome. You get charge. Pretty straightforward. Charge is really good when dealing with adds and basically coming back to the boss. On Iron Juggernaut you can charge the mines, even the crawler mines. So wild charge is a default thing. If you have no use for wild charge, feline swiftness, 15% movement speed, not bad. Ysera's gift, nice dot. Hot. Sorry. Every 5 seconds heals you for 5% of your maximum health. You have a lot of health, so by default, Ysera's gift good. If you're gonna get hit by a big truck every once in a while, renewal, pretty good. Cenarion ward, mathematically, it's actually the best, but it's bollocks. Just no. Fairy swarm, if you need to slow something down, like on Black Fuse, the mines, you can slow those down with Swarm. Mass Entanglement, I like to use this in the Corcoran Dark Shaman encounter with all the toxic blobs that get fired at the tank. Mass Entanglement works, no longer has a limit on how many enemies you can entangle, so that's really good. You can basically root all the green slimes. Typhoon, knockback mechanics. Pretty simple. On Garrosh, our last boss, you can use this and knock the adds into the Iron Star. Soul of the Forest. Melee, Melee, Mangle Bear now generates 30% more rage and deals 50% more damage. Yes, you need a lot of rage as a bear to do all this crazy stuff. And Mangle doing 50% more damage is pretty good because your Mangle, even without Vengeance, crits over 100k. So Mangle is really strong, and Soul of the Forest is a good baseline. Incarnation for big fights where you need to do a lot of damage or a lot of healing. Now I know that sounds weird, but when you combine Incarnation with Nature's Vigil, you're gonna do a shit ton of healing, especially in 10-man. But, this is a big stinky but, Nature's Vigil is idiotic and dumb. Because most of the time, it's gonna heal stuff like Army of the Dead from Death Knights, Water Elemental for Mages, DK pets, Hunter pets, Warlock pets, and you're on 15% health. You're like, are you gonna fucking heal me? And it keeps healing the army. So, yeah, it's pretty dumb. But if you combine it with Incarnation and it actually works, not bad. Not bad. It actually does a nice amount of damage and healing. 75. Another interrupt. 30-second cooldown. It's an AoE interrupt. Meh. Ursul's Vortex. Good for, once again, the Corcoran Dark Shaman encounter. Works on the green slimes. Mighty Bash. 50-second cooldown. It's a 5-second stun. Usable in all shapeshift forms. Always good. Another stun. Heart of the Wild. 6% stamina, 6% agility. And if you pop it and you pop Tranquility, you're gonna do a shit ton of healing. But, really good. Dream of Cenarius. Now, Dream of Cenarius is really good, not because of the healing, but because it increases the crit chance of Mango in Bear by 10%. And that is awesome. Okay, we want as much crit as possible. Currently, with my off-spec gear, I have 64.7% crit chance without buffs, without anything. This is a stamina food buff. So we have a lot of crit. With Dream of Cenarius, we have a 74.7% chance to crit with Mangle. And when you crit with Mangle, it gives you more rage. So that's always good. And also, you have a 40% chance, if I remember correctly, yes, to cause your next healing touch to be instant and heal you for 20% more, and you can cast it in bear form. So, if you don't trust your healers, this is good. But generally, you just take this because of the crit chance. Glyphs. These are my farming glyphs. Glyph of Face Silence. Fairy Fire used in bear form silences the target for 3 seconds but triggers a 15-second cooldown. Good for interrupts. So you can even take this into Siege of Orgrimmar. Maul, if you have more targets, Maul ability now hits one additional target for 50% damage. You are not going to use this. And Glyph of Skull Bash increases the duration of Skull Bash interrupt by 2 seconds but increases the cooldown by 5. Not going to use this. For raiding, you either going to take Frenzied Regeneration if you trust your healers. This is amazing. Frenzied Regeneration now costs 50 rage every time you cast it, but it removes the healing and gives you a buff that increases healing done to you by 40%. This is amazing, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're going to take that. We're going to replace Glyph of Mole. Another glyph is either Ursoc. So it increases the health gain from Might of Ursa by 20%, but increases the cooldown by 2 minutes. You can use this to bypass certain boss mechanics. You can usually, as a bear, survive more stacks of the deadly boss debuff than other tanks, because you have just so much shit to throw on yourself and to basically survive the big hit of doom. So it's an option. If you're not using that, use Glyph of Survival Instinct. Reduces the cooldown by 60 seconds, but it reduces the duration by 50%. If we take a look, reduces all damage taken by 50% for 12 seconds. So this is your shield wall. If you glyph it, you have 2 minutes cooldown, It still reduces damage taken by 50%, but it's only for 6 seconds, which is enough. So we're gonna take that again. So now we have a shield wall that is a 2-minute cooldown, and this is why you can usually take more debuffs, because you're ready for it. You have all these cooldowns, and you have high armor, you have pretty high health as well, and there it is. In minor glyphs, Grace is the only one that kinda does something. Feline Grace reduces falling damage even while not in cat form. So you're basically getting the falling damage reduction from cat form in every other form, or even if you're not in a form at all. So these are glyphs and talents. Now let's talk about the stat priorities. Stat priorities, very simple. Hit chance, hit cap, expertise cap, crit, haste, mastery. It's as simple as that. There is no, ooh, maybe I should get a breakpoint. No. You just need to get a hit cap, then an expertise cap, especially 15% full-on expertise cap. Okay? Parrying and dodging is bad. You just want full-on 15% expertise cap. Then, get as much crit as possible, because crit equals rage. Then get as much haste as possible, because, you know, when you're swinging faster, you're auto-attacking faster, you get more rage. And then mastery, if nothing else, because mastery is bollocks. It gives you more armor. You already have more armor than the other tanks. So, hit cap, expertise cap, then crit, then haste, and then mastery. Mastery is the weakest bullshit, and you don't want it, if possible. Now, let's talk about Frenzied Regeneration. The tooltip is wrong. Okay, we're gonna go back to glyphs. There we go. 40% more healing on you is a really bad way, a really terrible way to counter the incoming magic damage that you can't really deal with very well. Now, why? Because when you have this active, your healers can still use the shitty heals they've been using all the time, and it's enough, usually. So this is a way to counter that very poorly. Because when they're using a cheap heal that's healing, you know, for a little, then you get hit with a spell, and you have this active at the time. If you can time it, the shitty heal is gonna be enough for you. Okay, so that's why this is a very bad way to counter that. But, you know, it's better than using Frenzied Regeneration without the glyph, because it's kinda useless, to be honest. Okay, it's for people that don't trust their healers, and people that have really bad healers, so they actually have to heal themselves. Most of the time you're just gonna be rotating your savage defense, and you're gonna be using this glyph to kinda ease up the stress that's put on your healers in heavy magic fights. So this is a really good glyph. You should be using it as much as you can. And now finally we're going to talk about spells, the toolkit we were given to play with. So our main rage generator is Mangle. 280% weapon damage, reduces target movement speed by 50%, and generates 6.5 rage. When it crits, it generates more than 6-second cooldown. You're gonna be spamming this on cooldown. Lacerate lacerates the enemy target, dealing damage and additional damage over seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. Each time Lacerate hits, it is a 25% chance to reset cooldown on Mangle. So we want this on our main target, and if possible on as many targets as we can, so we get more Mangles, so we have more rage. Thrash. This is the ability that applies Weaken Blow, which demoralizes the target, reducing their physical damage dealt by 10% for 30 seconds. It is a great AoE damage, AoE attack, and it has an AoE bleed effect as well. So this is your primary thing that you want to keep on cooldown when AoEing. Next we have Swipe, just an AoE damage. and deals 20% increased damage against bleeding targets. So all the time, every time you're going to AoE, you're gonna use Thrash, and then you want to swipe because it's gonna do 20% more damage. Skull Bash or Interrupt, 15-second cooldown. It's an interrupt. Frenzied Regeneration, I've already talked about this. If not glyphed, it will heal you for rage. If glyphed, it will increase the healing received by 40%. Might of Ursak, this is our last stand, increases current and maximum health by 30% for 20 seconds, activates bear form. Now, you need to focus on the increases current and maximum. Okay, so if you're about to die, you can actually press this and it acts as a heal for you. But only use it like that in really bad oh shit moments. Okay? Other than that, it's a really good cooldown, especially when glyphed, to survive additional boss stacks and some nasty mechanics. Symbiosis, the best one for survivability is on a DK or a rogue. Depends if you're getting hit directly or by AoE. And some other good things you can get is Consecration from Paladins for more AoE damage and stuff like that. Savage Defense are active mitigation. Increases the chance to dodge by 45% for 6 seconds. This has 3 charges. Every 9 seconds you will get additional charge. It casts 60 rage. It requires bear form. This is the thing that you want to keep on yourself all the time. Okay? If you're being hit by melee attacks, you want this on. After that, you can do additional things. But if you have 60 rage, you don't have savage defense, and you use something else that costs rage, you're doing it wrong. Okay? If you're getting hit by melee attacks, and if you're about to be hit by a melee attack, savage defense, always. Maul. Maul the target for 110% weapon damage, reduces target movement speed by 50%, deals 20% additional damage against bleeding targets once again. Use when you have more rage than you can spend. Yes. This is kind of a weird ability because you will use it more as you get more gear. I'm gonna show you why. Okay, it sounds like it's just some additional damage, but it's not. What we want to focus on is Tooth and Claw. Your auto attacks in bear form have a 40% chance to empower your next maul for 10 seconds. Empowered maul causes its victim next auto attack within 15 seconds to deal 43,555 less damage. So this is what it looks like. I charge this dummy and I start auto attacking. Eventually, there it is. Tooth and Claw. Now if we use this, we will reduce the target's next melee attack by almost 45,000. Okay, and this I think scales even. So you want to use this when you have Tooth and Claw procs. If you don't have Tooth and Claw procs, you can still use it if you have a really good gear and you're generating more rage than you can use. Okay, rage capping is bad, and if you're about to rage cap and you can't do anything else, just use Maul. Okay. After that, we have Bear Hug. It is a stun that immobilizes you and then does 10% of your health in damage. Okay, so it stuns the target, it immobilizes you, and it will deal 10% of your health to the target as a damage. So that's pretty good. And Rage generates 20 rage and then generates additional 10 rage over 10 seconds. Really good. Wild Charge, that's talent. Soothe. A lot of druids forget about this. Soothes the target, dispelling all enrage effects. On fights like Thok, the jailer has an enrage effect, and he starts hitting really hard, so you can soothe him and reduce the damage taken by a lot. Now, Fairy Fire, which I have talented into Fairy Swarm, applies the Sunder Armor debuff. So this is the thing you're gonna use basically as you're pulling the boss, as you're charging. You should Fairy Swarm into charge basically, but I'm gonna talk about it later. Mark of the Wild, your buff stats. Then we have Stampeding Roar. This is one of the best spells in the game. The Druid roars, increasing the movement speed of all friendly players within 10 yards by 60% for 8 seconds and removing all root and snare effects. That's really good. Okay, because if your raid needs to get somewhere, you can pop this, they get there faster. But if someone gets rooted and is about to die, you can use this. It will give him the movement speed increase and it will free him from the root. A lot of people don't realize that that component is there. It removes root and snare effects. So don't forget about that. Then we have Berserk. Causes your mangle ability to hit up to 3 targets and have no cooldowns for 10 seconds. Really good thing for pulling if you're not using Incarnation. Okay. We have Res, Combat Res, Tranquility. Tranquility is good. Okay, you are fighting a boss, and every boss ever made, right now at least in Pandaria, has a stacking dot or a stacking debuff or something where, you know, it basically forces you to bring 2 tanks to survive the debuff. So when you're not tanking the boss, the other tank taunted off of you, and raid is about to take damage, you can pop out a bear form, use Tranquility, or if you're using Heart of the Wild, you can use Heart of the Wild and Tranquility after that, and you're gonna do a shit ton of healing, sorry. Survival Instinct, as I've said before, this is our shield wall, which can be glyphed to a 2-minute cooldown, which is amazing. Bark Skin, I love Bark Skin. It's different than the Moonkin version. This one has a 30-second cooldown instead of a minute cooldown. The Druid skin becomes as tough as bark. All damage taken is reduced by 20%. While protected, damaging attacks will not cause spellcasting delays. This spell is usable while stunned, frozen, incapacitated, feared, or asleep. Usable in all forms, lasts 12 seconds. So, there's a couple of things you need to understand. You can use this while stunned and feared and all this stuff, so it's really good for PvP. But this is a really good ability when you screw up. Okay, if I look back at Throne of Thunder, one big risk for tanks when tanking Frostking Malak was him stunning them and then just hitting them in the face really hard, because you can't dodge, you can't parry when you're stunned. You can't dodge or parry or block. So when you're stunned and you kind of forgot that you need to do something about it, you can pop bark skin even if you're stunned. Okay, so you won't take as much damage, you will take 20% less damage. And that is amazing. Okay, bark skin, use it. It's awesome. It doesn't matter if you're Restoration, Feral, Guardian, or Moonkin, use bark skin. It's an amazing defensive cooldown. And of course, we're using the bear form, immune to polymorph effects, increases armor contribution from cloth and leather items by 330%, stamina by 40%, also causes agility to increase attack power and increase haste and critical strike from items by 50%. So, that was a long one. Here are our spells that you're going to use. Here's the bear form. Now we're going to take a look at the act of tanking, the actual, tanking. Almost forgot about the gems. So for blue, you want to use crit and hit. For red, you want to use expertise and crit. And for yellow, you want to use crit. If you have enough expertise or hit, you can use just straight up crit, even for blue or red slots. Okay? So here comes the demonstration part, okay? Just remember, I have a lot of gear, even though it's my, off spec. I have a lot of gear, so I have more rage than you probably have. If you're getting less rage than I do, just skip using Maul, okay? So, the general idea of tanking as a bear is to always have things on cooldown, okay? Try to have things on cooldown, okay? Our priority, of course, is our active mitigation, which is Savage Defense. You want to have Savage Defense up as much as possible, and you want to keep the other things on cooldown. So, as you can see, I am dealing with it quite well because I have a lot of rage, I have a lot of crit, I have a lot of haste, and I've chosen talents that basically increase my rage gain by a lot. Now, at the beginning, you won't have this. You won't have this much rage, so you will have to basically skip using Maul. Now, the AoE as a Moonkin, what you do is you use Thrash to apply your dot, and it also does a nice amount of damage. Then you swipe. Never swipe first, okay? Thrash always first, then swipe. Okay, swipe does more damage when the target is bleeding. Now, excessive rage while AoEing should either go, if those mobs are melee based, melee focused, they do melee damage, that should go into Savage Defense, okay, as much as possible. And here we have a boss. So I will start by applying the Fairy Fire debuff, and then I kind of want to keep things on cooldown as much as possible. Okay, this is something that will happen to you. Excessive rage, we can throw Savage Defense on, and we're just waiting. And I just got stunned because I'm talking and I'm not paying attention. So, Savage Defense, keep Mangle on cooldown, keep Lacerate on 3 stacks, and keep Thrash on cooldown. If you have a lot of rage, you can use it and dump it into Maul. Now, if you have kinda enough rage to use Maul, but you're not quite sure yet, you're not getting excessive rage, use it with Tooth and Claw procs. That will reduce the damage the boss will do to you, or the mobs will do to you, which, you know, less damage is better. So, once again, as you get more gear, this will become easier because you will basically go from a rage-based tanking class into a cooldown-based tanking class. Okay? Because as you're getting more gear, you're gonna get more crit, you're gonna get more haste, and rage, you will have so much rage. I already have quite a bit of rage. Okay? So, and excuse me, it's kind of hard to tank and talk. This is not post-commentary, this is actual live commentary. So, as we get here, we're gonna Thrash, we're gonna get stunned, and we're gonna swipe. And once again, we're gonna wait for the cooldown, we're gonna Thrash, and then we're gonna swipe. As you can see, the cooldown is fairly similar, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Now we're gonna use a cooldown, because why not? There is more mobs, we can use Berserk, which causes us to not have cooldown on Mango, which just results in a massive amount of DPS. As you can see, the damage meter above my chat box, yeah, that's pretty normal. You're gonna do, even on single target, you're gonna do somewhere around 150k without just insane amounts of vengeance. Now, bear in mind that I am not the best tank in the world. This is my off-spec. Okay? But I feel confident to do at least this basic guide. Okay, so we're gonna throw one more Savage Defense up, and the boss be dead. Because we are doing way too much damage. But yeah. I could throw on a... I could throw on a Symbiosis, but... Well, let's actually do that. Let's get Bone Shield, because Bone Shield is awesome, and we are pulling even though we are not the tank. And you saw there 50k heal. Now that was Ysera's gift. Okay, Ysera's gift, if you have full HP, it will heal someone else. And it can heal for quite a bit, so Ysera's gift, another reason why you would take it, because it just passively heals, you don't have to do anything. And to be honest, most of the time, you don't have the global cooldown for, you know, Ysera's gift, for Cenarion Ward, sorry. So Ysera's gift wins. Well, as you can see, we're just doing a nice amount of damage. You know, nothing too difficult. You know, popping Savage Defense as much as possible. Keeping Mangle on cooldown. Stacking Lacerate on the target. Keeping Thrash on cooldown. And Excessive Rage goes to Mauling. Now, if you're taking a high amount of magic damage, as I've said before, and you can't really do anything about it, as in here, you know, let's say we're taking a lot of damage, we can use Savage Defense, Frenzied Regeneration, sorry. and it will increase the healing we receive, not only from the healer but from our heals as well. So that's really good. Here we go, coming up to the last boss. And this is it. Use cooldowns when necessary. Use bark skin a lot because it's only 30-second cooldown. And it is 20% reduction, which is amazing. So don't forget to use it. This is it. It's not difficult, is it? Okay, it's fun. It's smooth. Okay? It's not waiting for things to do. No, thank you. It's not waiting for something to happen. It's you tanking, having fun, and just punching things in the face really hard. So that's it for this video. I thank you a lot for watching. I hope this video helped you. If it did, leave a like, because not leaving a like when you like the video is rude. It is rude. Very much so. So, I thank you a lot, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.